What's up guys, welcome back to another video. I want to make a quick video about the 5 things that I love about my e46 M3. I haven't done a video like this yet and I've owned it for about 6 months now, so I think it's about time that I finally kind of talked about this. I am going to do a video of 5 things I hate about it because there definitely is parts of it that I don't like. I wouldn't say there's anything that I actually hate, but there's definitely some things that I don't like, so we'll go over that as well. So the first one is timeless looks. I think when an E46 has upgraded LED taillights and a few other pieces like carbon fiber front lip, stuff like that, I think it looks really good. I think the body style hasn't gotten old at all. I see some of these BMWs like the F80 and stuff, I think they might get a little bit dated. So many people associate the E46 with being part of BMW's like signature model, so the body style of the E46 will always look great. I'm also going to show you guys some of the cars that I really like right now. I've been really into some of the track spec cars. I've been looking at the RS Future Wing, which I'll put a picture of a car right here. But something I want to do on my car also is the ACS front lip with the build journal front splitter. I also want to do things like the canards on the front bumper, side skirt extensions. So number 2 is a linear power band. One of the cool things about having a NA car is that the power band is super linear and it makes the car really predictable. But it's also relatively easy to control if you understand basic car control. I always drive with traction control completely off because I have so much confidence in my car. That's one of the things that also brings me to number 3, which is this car is super confidence inspiring on the limit. I feel like the E46 M3 almost asks you to push it more. I took my car out to Buttonwillow recently and I was literally throwing it into corners on my second lap and it just felt so right. It didn't feel unpredictable or anything. It didn't feel like almost nervous on the track. It felt like it was meant to be on the track, which is really cool. I have kind of set mine up with suspension and proper tires and stuff, but I haven't gone overboard with it. I just have like off-the-shelf coilovers and some basic 200 tread wear tires, some other suspension components, but overall, I wouldn't say it's too far from a stock E46. Still has full interior, all that stuff. Proper tires and suspension goes a really long way on the E46. I went for cheap tires. I went for the Federal RSRR tires, which are super cheap. It was like under 500 bucks for the whole set. I just have those on the stock staggered wheels. One thing I did notice on the track though is that it does understeer quite a bit, so I think the 235s up front definitely need to be replaced soon. I want to do a square 275 setup, and I think that will improve the handling like drastically on track. Some of the things that my car has, I have ISC N1 coilovers, I have IBOC sway bars, I have UUC rear adjustable camber arms. My car actually came with a yellow tag steering rack, which is the one out of the 330 ZHP, I believe. It has a quicker steering ratio than the M3 green tag, so it makes it feel more nimble for sure. So the 4th thing I love is how reliable this car has been. So I had a 335 before this and I felt like that car wasn't reliable. It feels like that car was always in the shop. It was always either leaking oil or being put into limp mode. So that car had a lot of issues that I actually fixed a lot of them, but I was constantly spending money to keep that thing running. It was always like a constant stress that I had to, I wasn't sure if it would start up some mornings, or wasn't sure if it was gonna go into limp mode randomly, or blow a coolant hose. So the 335 for me didn't seem that reliable, and a lot of people have asked that why I've kind of made the switch, and definitely one of the main things is because I think the E46 M3 is more reliable. But I think it's more reliable when you do the main things that need to be fixed. So obviously rod bearings is 1, the subframe carrier reinforcement is 2, and vanos is probably the 3rd big one. So I purposely bought a car that had some of those done. The only thing I had to do on my car was the vanos. So I rebuilt that. I completely bulletproofed it with all the B-sand parts. So far with the E46, it's been more reliable than the 335. I think the 335 about every single month had something wrong with it, whether it was misfiring or had a rough idle or started leaking oil. I experienced all those things with my 335 that I just haven't experienced with the E46 M3 at all. It just seems like I can beat on it and take it to the track and stuff, and it just is totally fine. It just keeps running strong. It's also important to keep in mind that a performance car is going to take more maintenance than something like a daily driver, like a Honda or something. So if you do want to get into either like something like a 335 or a e46 M3, you have to understand that they're going to take more maintenance than a standard car. You're still going to need some maintenance. I say reliable in terms of BMW. So a lot of BMWs are not reliable, but I think an e46 M3 is one of the most reliable performance BMWs. So the fifth thing is the e46 community in general is just so much more supportive. I actually have a page called M54 Builds. I have a Facebook group, a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and all of them are pretty big. So I've kind of experienced the M54 community and 335 community firsthand. I was also a member of all those groups, like 335 mods, you know, E92 parts, stuff like that. I had the experience of the 335 owners, and now I'm part of all the e46 M3 groups. I think the e46 M3 owners are much more mature and are much more willing to help you out when you have questions or concerns. I feel like people aren't, you know, trolling as much or bashing on people, especially if you're new to a certain chassis and you have a lot of questions. It's really nice to have an open community that's willing to help. These cars have also been around for about 20 years now, so anything that you have a question on is on the internet. Like, I search up so many different things, whether it's a weird noise or a problem that I think I might be having in the future, and there's always threads of people that have gone through the same thing, whether that's, you know, the ABS system and the E46 acting up. I found answers to that super easily. I think people that use Facebook groups to post very general questions like, oh, what type of oil is best for my E46 M3, it comes off as lazy almost, because all those questions have been asked a million times. You just have to be able to know how to use the search function on Google or these Facebook groups or some of the forums. I think people are really lazy with how they get their information. If you actually put an effort to do your own research, you'll figure out that all of it's out there. You don't need to ask any questions because they've already been asked. So those are the 5 things that I love about my car. I've gotten a ton of questions asking why I switched from the 335. Even when TJ Hunt was here, which I made a video with him in it recently, but even when TJ Hunt was here, he asked me why I got rid of it and why I got the e46 M3. And in my eyes, it suits me better. The 335 had a lot of issues, and to me it wasn't worth it. I want a more reliable car, even if it is a little bit slower in a straight line, because I know a lot of people are concerned about that, saying, oh, e46 M3 is slower. It is in a straight line, but take it around a track and e46 M3 will whoop a 335 any day, which is kind of what I'm more interested in anyways. I think canyon driving and track driving is much more interesting than doing highway rolls, which I understand that that's what some people are into, but that's just not what I'm into. So the e46 M3 definitely suits me way better. So that's why I made the switch. I hope you learned a couple good things about this video. I'd recommend an M3 to anyone that can afford one or is looking around for one. If you have more questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, or you can hit me up on Instagram. I'll put it right here, somewhere over here, and I'll try to get back to you as fast as possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.